April 18, 1943, 7:25 a.m. The Solomon Islands, 18 P-38. Lightning fighters climb through the tropical morning air on what appears to be a routine patrol. But this is no routine mission. In exactly 10 minutes, these 18 American pilots will intercept 2 Japanese bombers carrying Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of Pearl Harbor, the supreme commander of the Japanese combined fleet, the most strategically valuable target in the entire Pacific War. The intercept point has been calculated to within 60 seconds. The flight path has been predicted with surgical precision. Every detail has been planned down to the minute. This isn't a chance encounter. This isn't luck. This is the most carefully orchestrated assassination in military aviation history. And when it's over, Japan will lose not just one admiral, but 5 high-ranking officers in a single devastating blow that will shatter Japanese naval command and change the course of the Pacific War. This is the story of Operation Vengeance, the day American codebreakers, intelligence analysts, and fighter pilots executed the impossible. The day a single squadron killed more enemy flag officers than any other unit in history. Before we dive into one of the most incredible targeted strikes of World War II, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel brings you the deep stories behind the headlines, the intelligence operations that changed wars, and the missions that seemed impossible until someone pulled them off. Here's a question I want you thinking about. Was Operation Vengeance a legitimate military operation, or was it an assassination that crossed ethical lines? Where's the boundary in warfare? Drop your answer in the comments. This one always sparks debate. Now, let's go back 3 weeks before the mission, to the moment American intelligence intercepted a message that would change everything. April 13, 1943, Station HYPO, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Lieutenant Commander Jasper Holmes stares at a decoded Japanese naval message. His hands are shaking slightly, not from fatigue, from excitement. Station HYPO is the U.S. Navy's Signals Intelligence Unit. They've been breaking Japanese naval codes since before Midway. They're good at their job, very good. But this message is different. It's a detailed itinerary for Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's inspection tour of forward bases in the Solomon Islands. Exact departure time, exact route, exact arrival time, even the number of escort fighters. Holmes reads it 3 times to make sure he's not misinterpreting. April 18th, Yamamoto will fly from Rabaul to Balale, a small airstrip near Bougainville. Departure, 0600 hours. Arrival, 0800 hours. 2 medium bombers, 6 Zero fighters as escort. It's a gift, an intelligence gift so perfect it almost seems like a trap. Holmes immediately takes the message to his superior, Commander Edwin Layton, Fleet Intelligence Officer for Admiral Chester Nimitz. Layton reads it, looks up at Holmes, quote, "Are you certain this is Yamamoto himself? Not a decoy or subordinate?" End quote. Holmes nods. The Japanese radio traffic references Yamamoto by a specific code designation that Station HYPO has confirmed through months of pattern analysis. It's him, no doubt. Layton takes the message directly to Admiral Nimitz. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because killing Yamamoto isn't a simple tactical decision. It's a strategic and political minefield. First concern, if the Americans shoot down Yamamoto's plane, the Japanese will know their codes are broken. They'll change their encryption. The entire intelligence advantage that helped win Midway could disappear. Second concern, assassination of a specific individual, even a military commander, raises ethical questions. Is this warfare or murder? Third concern, Yamamoto might actually be more valuable alive. Some analysts argue he's a moderating influence in the Japanese high command. His death might lead to even more aggressive leadership. Nimitz wrestles with these questions for several hours. He consults his senior staff. The debate is intense, but ultimately, the strategic value is undeniable. Yamamoto planned Pearl Harbor. He commands the combined fleet. He's Japan's most brilliant naval strategist. His death would be a devastating blow to Japanese morale and operational capability. Nimitz makes the decision. Quote, "The mission is approved. Get him." End quote. But there's a problem. A big one. Yamamoto's route takes him over the ocean and along the coast of Bougainville. That's 430 miles from the nearest American airfield at Guadalcanal. 430 miles over enemy-controlled waters and airspace. The only American fighter with the range to reach the intercept point and return is the P-38 Lightning. Twin-engine, long-range fighter. Fast, heavily armed, but never tested on a mission this ambitious. And there's only one squadron at Guadalcanal equipped with P-38s. The 339th Fighter Squadron. 18 aircraft operational. Pilots with varying levels of combat experience. They'll have to fly at wave-top height to avoid radar detection. Navigate with perfect precision across 430 miles of ocean. Arrive at the exact intercept point within a 60-second window. Shoot down Yamamoto's bomber and fight their way home through whatever Japanese response materializes. The mission is assigned to Major John Mitchell, commanding officer of the 339th. He's given 4 days to plan. 4 days to organize the most important fighter mission of the war. April 14th through 17th, Guadalcanal. Major John Mitchell spreads maps across a makeshift table in a tent that serves as squadron headquarters. He's been given an impossible task and told to make it work. The problems are numerous and daunting. Problem 1: range. The P-38 Lightning has a combat radius of approximately 400 miles with drop tanks. The intercept point is 430 miles from Guadalcanal. Mitchell does the math. They'll need to fly at the most fuel-efficient altitude and speed. Cruise at 10,000 feet on the way out. Throttle back to conserve fuel. No high-speed maneuvers until absolutely necessary. Even then, it's marginal. If they encounter headwinds, if they have to dogfight longer than a few minutes, they won't have fuel to return. They'll be swimming. Problem 2: navigation. 430 miles over open ocean with no landmarks. A 60-second intercept window. If they're early, Yamamoto will see them and turn back. If they're late, he'll already be on the ground. Mitchell assigns the navigation to Captain Thomas Lanphier, Jr., one of his most experienced pilots and a skilled navigator. Lanphier will lead the attack element. Mitchell himself will lead the top cover. Lanphier plots the course meticulously. They'll fly a dogleg route to approach from an unexpected direction. Skim the wave tops to stay off Japanese radar. Use dead reckoning navigation with compass, airspeed, and timing. Problem 3: the target will be escorted. Intelligence says 6 zeros, but there could be more. The P-38s will be outnumbered, low on fuel, far from friendly territory. Mitchell decides to split his force. 16 P-38s total will launch. 4 aircraft, led by Lanphier, will be the killer flight. Their only job: find and destroy Yamamoto's bombers. 12 aircraft, led by Mitchell, will fly top cover. Their job: keep the zeros off the killer flight. It's a risky split. If more than 6 zeros show up, the Americans will be badly outnumbered. Problem 4: identification. How do they know which bomber Yamamoto is in? Intelligence says there will be 2 bombers, Mitsubishi G4M Betty bombers. But which one carries the Admiral? The answer: shoot them both. Make sure. Problem 5. Secrecy. Only a handful of people can know the true nature of this mission. If the Japanese suspect their codes are compromised, they'll change the itinerary or cancel the trip entirely. Mitchell tells his pilots they're going after an important target. He doesn't tell them it's Yamamoto. Only Lanfear and a few senior officers know the full truth. April 17th. Final briefing. The pilots are told they're intercepting Japanese bombers delivering supplies to Balal. Important, but not extraordinary. Mitchell reviews the navigation one final time. He checks fuel calculations. He confirms radio procedures. Everything has to be perfect. That night, ground crews work through the darkness. They install extra fuel tanks on every P-38. They check every engine, every instrument, every gun. This mission cannot fail due to mechanical issues. The pilots try to sleep. Most can't. They know this is different. The tension is palpable even if they don't know why. April 18th, 0400 hours. Wake-up call, 0500 hours. Briefing. Mitchell goes over the plan one final time. Launch at 0700. Fly heading 265 degrees. Maintain 10,000 feet. Radio silence except emergencies. 0700 hours. Engines start. 18 P-38 Lightnings taxi to the runway. At 0710, the first Lightning lifts off. One by one, they climb into the morning sky. Operation Vengeance is underway. 0710 hours. 18 P-38s depart Guadalcanal. Major Mitchell leads the formation out over the Solomon Sea. They descend to wave-top altitude, 50 feet above the water, low enough that their propeller wash kicks up spray. Radio silence, complete concentration. Every pilot watches his instruments. Airspeed, heading, fuel consumption. The flight is monotonous and nerve-wracking simultaneously. 430 miles, over 2 hours of flying. Nothing but ocean below. Enemy territory all around. Captain Lanfear navigates by dead reckoning. Compass heading. Airspeed. Elapsed time. There are no GPS satellites in 1943. No radar guidance, just skill and mathematics. 0915 hours. They should be approaching the intercept point. Mitchell scans the sky. Nothing. Lanfear checks his calculations. They should be here. Yamamoto should be here. The pilot's nerves are screaming. Did they miss him? Is the intelligence wrong? Did Yamamoto change his plans? Then, at 0920 hours, Mitchell spots them. 2 dots on the horizon. Low altitude, twin-engine bombers, Mitsubishi G4M Bettys, and above them, 6 smaller dots. 0 fighters. Mitchell's voice crackles over the radio. Quote, bogies, 11 o'clock. Angels 5. End quote. Lanfear sees them. He pushes his throttles forward. The 3 other P-38s in his killer flight follow. Mitchell and his 12 P-38s climb to engage the Zeros. Their job is simple. Keep those Zeros busy. Don't let them interfere with the bombers. Here's where it happens fast. The Japanese escort pilots spot the P-38s. They immediately turn to engage. They're shocked. How did American fighters get this far from Guadalcanal? This shouldn't be possible. But there's no time for questions. Mitchell's top cover hits them head-on. 12 P-38s versus 6 Zeros. The sky erupts into a chaotic dogfight. Meanwhile, Lanfear and his killer flight dive toward the bombers. The 2 Betty bombers see the P-38s. They immediately break formation. One turns left toward the coast. One turns right out to sea. They're desperately trying to escape. The bomber heading toward the coast drops lower. It's racing for the jungle canopy. If it can reach the trees, it might survive. Lanfear follows. He's behind and slightly above. The Betty is fast, but the P-38 is faster in a dive. Lanfear closes the distance. 500 yards. 400. 300. His finger tightens on the trigger. 6 50 caliber machine guns and 1 20mm cannon, all concentrated in the nose of the Lightning. No convergence problems. If the gun sight is on target, the bullets hit target. Lanfear fires. A 3-second burst. Tracer rounds streak toward the Betty. They hit the right engine. The engine explodes. Smoke and flame pour from the cowling. The Betty's right wing dips. The pilot is losing control. The bomber skids sideways through the air, trailing smoke and fire. Lanfear fires again. Another burst, this time into the fuselage. The Betty's tail section disintegrates. The bomber enters a violent spin. It's going down. At approximately 0934 hours, the Betty crashes into the jungle canopy of Bougainville. The impact is catastrophic. There are no survivors. Lieutenant Rex Barber, Lanfear's wingman, pursues the second Betty. It's fleeing out to sea, flying at wave-top height, desperate. Barber closes in. He fires. The Betty's left engine explodes. Fire streams from the wing. The bomber tries to maintain altitude, but it's impossible. The Betty pancakes into the ocean. It breaks apart on impact. It sinks within seconds. Both bombers are down. The entire engagement lasted 4 minutes. Mitchell's top cover is still dogfighting with the Zeros. One Zero is shot down. Another is damaged. The remaining Zeros break off and flee. Mitchell calls his flight together. Quote, "Okay, let's go home." End quote. The P-38s turn southeast, heading back to Guadalcanal. Fuel gauges are dangerously low. Several pilots won't make it all the way back. They'll have to ditch or divert to emergency strips. But the mission is complete. Both bombers are destroyed. What the pilots don't know yet is which bomber carried Yamamoto. If you're as gripped by this story as I am, hit that like button. The next section reveals what American intelligence discovered in the days after the mission, and the staggering strategic impact of those 4 minutes of combat. But first, let's talk about what happened on the ground in Bougainville. April 18, 1943. Approximately 10:00 a.m. Bougainville jungle. Japanese search teams are dispatched immediately after the crashes. They find the first wreckage within hours. The bomber that crashed into the jungle is located roughly 2 miles inland from the coast. The impact scattered debris across several hundred yards. The fuselage is shattered. The jungle canopy is torn apart. Search teams find bodies. Most are burned beyond recognition, but there's one body thrown clear of the wreckage, seated upright against a tree, still strapped into his seat. The uniform is intact. The rank insignia is visible. Admiral. Full dress uniform with medals and decorations. It's Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. He's been thrown from the aircraft during the crash. His body shows signs of bullet wounds. At least 2 rounds entered through the left shoulder and exited through the right chest. He likely died before impact. The commander of the Japanese combined fleet, the architect of Pearl Harbor, the strategist who had dominated the Pacific for 18 months. Dead in the jungle of Bougainville. But Yamamoto isn't the only high-ranking casualty. The second bomber, which crashed into the ocean, carried Vice Admiral Matome Ugaki, Yamamoto's chief of staff. Ugaki miraculously survives the crash. He's pulled from the water by a Japanese rescue boat, severely injured but alive. Also killed in the 2 bombers, Rear Admiral Tamosu Kitamura, Yamamoto's administrative officer, Commander Noboru Fukuzaki, the Air Staff Officer, and several other senior staff officers. In total, the two bombers carried 5 admirals and high-ranking commanders. 4 are killed instantly. 1 survives with critical injuries. A single American fighter squadron has killed more enemy flag officers in one engagement than any unit in military history. But here's the critical question. Do the Japanese realize this was a targeted assassination? Initially, no. Japanese reports describe the incident as an unfortunate encounter with American patrol aircraft. Bad luck, wrong place, wrong time. But within days, Japanese intelligence officers start asking questions. How did American fighters appear at that exact location at that exact time? The intercept was too precise, too perfect. Japanese cryptographers review their communication security. They find no obvious breaches. Their codes appear secure. They conclude, incorrectly, that the Americans must have had a spy or a traitor providing information. They never fully realize their naval code has been broken. This is crucial. American code breakers continue reading Japanese naval communications throughout the war. The intelligence advantage that helped win Midway continues unabated. But now let's talk about the impact in Japan itself. Yamamoto's death is a devastating blow to Japanese morale. He was Japan's most famous military figure, more popular than most generals, more trusted than most politicians. His face was on propaganda posters. His voice was on radio broadcasts. The Japanese government initially tries to keep his death secret. They don't announce it for over a month. When they finally do, on May 21, 1943, the announcement describes him as killed in action while directing operations at the front. National mourning, flags at half-staff, public ceremonies. The Japanese people are shocked and grief-stricken. But the military impact is even more significant. Yamamoto's replacement as commander of the combined fleet is Admiral Manichi Koga. Competent, but not brilliant. Cautious rather than aggressive. He lacks Yamamoto's strategic vision and operational boldness. Japanese naval operations become more defensive, more reactive, less innovative. The creative, aggressive planning that characterized operations like Pearl Harbor and the Indian Ocean raid disappears. Let me give you a specific comparison. Under Yamamoto, the Japanese Navy launched bold, complex operations. Multiple carrier task forces coordinating across thousands of miles. Surprise attacks, strategic gambles. Under Koga, operations become methodical, predictable. The Japanese Navy starts fighting the kind of war the U.S. Navy wants them to fight. Attrition, production, logistics, all areas where America has overwhelming advantages. Let's talk about what Operation Vengeance means for the broader Pacific War. First, the immediate tactical impact. Japanese command and control in the Solomon Islands is disrupted. Yamamoto was there to personally coordinate operations. His death creates confusion, delays decisions, weakens morale among forward units. American forces capitalize. Within weeks, operations in the Solomons accelerate. Island-hopping campaigns gain momentum. Japanese resistance, while still fierce, becomes less coordinated. Second, the intelligence implications. The fact that Japanese codes remain unbroken is critical. American commanders continue reading Japanese battle plans, supply schedules, fleet movements throughout 1943 and 1944. This advantage contributes to American victories at the Battle of the Philippine Sea in June 1944, where Japanese carrier aviation is essentially destroyed. It contributes to submarine warfare success, where U.S. submarines intercept Japanese convoys with precision. It provides strategic warning of Japanese offensives. If the Japanese had changed their codes after Yamamoto's death, none of this would have been possible. Third, the psychological impact on both sides. American morale soars when news of Yamamoto's death is confirmed. The man who attacked Pearl Harbor has been killed by American pilots. It feels like justice, like revenge. Japanese morale, conversely, suffers. If Yamamoto could be killed, no one is safe. The aura of invincibility is shattered. Fourth, and this is often overlooked, the strategic paralysis. After Yamamoto's death, Japanese naval commanders become more cautious. They're afraid of being targeted. They avoid predictable patterns. They reduce their presence at forward bases. This cautiousness limits their effectiveness. Naval warfare requires aggressive leadership. Commanders who are afraid to take risks don't win battles. Now, let's talk about the pilots themselves. Who gets credit for killing Yamamoto? This becomes a contentious issue. Captain Thomas Lanphier claims he shot down the bomber carrying Yamamoto. He files a combat report stating he attacked the lead bomber, scored hits, and watched it crash. Lieutenant Rex Barber claims he shot down Yamamoto's bomber. He states in his report that he pursued the bomber fleeing toward shore, shot it down, and it crashed in the jungle. Both claims have merit. Both pilots were in position. Both engaged bombers. Both bombers crashed. The problem: only one bomber carried Yamamoto. Which one? Post-war analysis, including Japanese records and crash site investigations, suggests Barber shot down Yamamoto's bomber. The bomber that crashed in the jungle where Yamamoto's body was found matches Barber's description of his target's flight path. But Lanphier's claim is initially accepted. He receives credit. He becomes famous. He's interviewed. He writes articles. He becomes the public face of Operation Vengeance. Barber feels betrayed. He knows he shot down the bomber in the jungle. He has witnesses. But Lanphier's version dominates the narrative for decades. This controversy creates bitterness that lasts for years. It highlights a difficult truth. In the chaos of combat, establishing precise credit for kills is often impossible. But here's what's undeniable. The 339th Fighter Squadron executed one of the most successful intercept missions in aviation history. 18 P-38s flew 430 miles over enemy territory, intercepted their target within a 60-second window, destroyed both bombers, and returned home. Precision, planning, execution. It's a case study in military excellence. Let's talk about what happened to the key figures. Major John Mitchell, the mission commander, survives the war. He continues flying combat missions throughout 1943 and 1944. He finishes with 11 confirmed aerial victories. He receives the Navy Cross for his leadership of Operation Vengeance. After the war, Mitchell becomes a successful businessman. He rarely discusses the Yamamoto mission publicly. He dies in 1995 at the age of 79. Captain Thomas Lanphier Jr., the controversial kill claimant, also survives the war. He finishes with 6 confirmed victories. After the war, he becomes a public figure. He writes extensively about Operation Vengeance. He lectures. He appears on television. But the controversy over kill credit haunts him. Fellow pilots dispute his claims. Historians question his accounts. He becomes defensive, sometimes angry about the challenges to his narrative. Lanphier dies in 1987, at age 70. Until the end, he insists he shot down Yamamoto. Lieutenant Rex Barber, the likely actual pilot who killed Yamamoto, has a quieter post-war life. He receives little public recognition during his lifetime. He doesn't seek publicity. He's frustrated by Lanphier's claims, but doesn't aggressively fight them in public forums. In 2003, 16 years after Lanfear's death, the U.S. Air Force reviews the evidence and officially credits Barber with shooting down Yamamoto's bomber. Barber dies in 2001, 2 years before this official recognition. He never receives the public acknowledgement he deserved while alive. Lieutenant Besby Holmes, another pilot on the mission, shoots down the second bomber. He receives credit for that kill without controversy. He survives the war and lives until 2005. Of the 18 pilots who flew Operation Vengeance, 3 are killed in combat later in the war. Not on that mission, but in subsequent operations. War is unforgiving even to heroes. And what about the Japanese perspective? Vice Admiral Matome Ugaki, who survived the crash, continues serving throughout the war. He commands several naval operations. On August 15, 1945, the day Japan surrenders, Ugaki leads a final kamikaze attack against American ships. He dies in that attack, a last act of defiance in a lost war. The Zero pilots who escorted Yamamoto and failed to protect him face intense scrutiny. Some are reassigned. None are officially punished. But the shame of failing to save the commander-in-chief haunts them. April 18, 1943. 18 P-38. Lightnings execute a mission that seems impossible on paper. 430 miles over enemy territory. A 60-second intercept window. 2 bombers destroyed. 5 high-ranking Japanese officers killed. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of Pearl Harbor, dies in the jungle of Bougainville with 2 bullet wounds in his torso. The strategic impact reverberates throughout the Pacific War. Japanese Naval Command loses its most brilliant strategist. Operations become more cautious, more predictable, less effective. American codebreakers continue reading Japanese communications because the Japanese never realize how the intercept was possible. That intelligence advantage contributes to victory after victory. And 18 fighter pilots prove that precision, planning, and skill can achieve what seems impossible. Operation Vengeance wasn't just about killing one man. It was about demonstrating that intelligence, when acted upon decisively, can change the course of wars. The mission succeeded because multiple systems worked perfectly. Codebreakers decrypted the message. Intelligence analysts verified the target. Commanders made bold decisions. Planners solved impossible logistics. Pilots executed with precision. Every link in the chain held. That's rare in warfare. Usually, something goes wrong. Weather changes. Intelligence is inaccurate. Mechanical failures occur. Enemy responses are unexpected. But on April 18, 1943, everything worked. A single P-38 squadron killed 5 Japanese admirals in the most precise ambush of World War II. And Japan never fully recovered. If this story of intelligence, planning, and precision execution fascinated you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We dig deep into the operations that changed wars, the decisions that determined outcomes, and the missions that seemed impossible. Next video, we're covering the most controversial bombing decision of the Pacific War. A target so devastating that even the pilots who flew the mission questioned whether it should have been approved. You won't want to miss it. Here's my question for the comments. Was Operation Vengeance a legitimate military operation against a uniformed commander? Or was it an assassination that crossed ethical boundaries? Does it matter that Yamamoto planned Pearl Harbor? Where do you draw the line? Give me your honest thoughts. These ethical debates are always the most interesting. This video was made possible by viewers like you. If you want to support the channel and get early access to new videos, check out the Patreon link in the description. Thanks for watching. Remember, history isn't just about who won and lost. It's about the intelligence, the planning, the execution, and the consequences of decisions made under pressure. See you in the next one.